Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And in today's episode, the topic is defense the biggest problem for the Nets? So that's the topic I'm going to get into in today's video. But before we get into that, I want you guys to please make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Also be on the lookout for our Dreamerspro Premium community, and also be on the lookout for Dreamerspro.com, which is on its way soon. So I want to get into this topic here, all right? This is a very serious topic because, why? The New Jersey Nets are one of the biggest stories in the NBA. The Brooklyn Nets. Oh my God, I don't know why I keep saying it. Anyway, the Brooklyn Nets are one of the biggest stories in the NBA, right? Because first of all, going into the season, we were eagerly anticipating to see what Kevin Durant would look like going into the season, given the fact that he hadn't played basketball in over a year because of an Achilles tendon rupture. Then also you had Kyrie Irving. We were very interested to see how these two players were going to mesh on the court, right? And they were off to a pretty interesting start. Not great, but good enough, right? Then Kyrie Irving went, he just went incognito. Like he disappeared. He stopped showing up to games for reasons that, I don't know. He didn't really specify them when he came back. So he missed a bunch of games. And in his absence, what happened? They traded for James Harden, right? And the moment that they traded for James Harden, the entire basketball world lost their stuff. All of a sudden, people were like, this team is going to the finals. Again, the man, Stephen A. Smith said, they asked him, what do you expect from the Brooklyn Nets? I expect them to be in the finals. Okay, why? Can you see how KD and James Harden, some of the best scorers in the NBA? That was Stephen A. Smith, right? Man on the street logic. One of our viewers yesterday made a good point. He said maybe Stephen A. Smith is not being paid to analyze games. Maybe he's being paid just to entertain and give superficial analysis. And it may be true, but let me say one thing about Nick Wright. Although I disagree with most of what Nick Wright has said, especially his points about Kobe and Kawhi and all of these different things, and Jordan and all of that. But one thing I do notice about Nick Wright is this. Nick Wright takes his job very seriously. Nick Wright does some in-depth research with his analysis, right? He goes the extra mile. Maybe it's because he's only been on TV for 5 years and he feels like, listen, I haven't arrived yet. And so he doesn't want to get too complacent being on TV. Or maybe he just wants to go the extra mile and make sure that he's giving the best type of analysis that he could possibly give to his audience, obviously from his own point of view, right? Everything is skewed by our point of views. Everything, all of us, no one is exempt from that. Whatever you say is from your point of view, most times. So, but Nick Wright does a really good job with doing his homework and his research, and he tries to give people some kind of in-depth analysis. He looks on basketballreference.com, and he tries his best. Stephen A. Smith just jumps out there. They're the best. Oh, did you see KD? He's averaging 30 and 50 and blah, blah, blah. What about defense, son? Never talks about that, right? That's been my biggest question mark about this team, was their defense. Now listen, let's talk about Kevin Durant. Because Kevin Durant is an all-time great. Some people have him top 20, top 15, wherever you have him. He's a two-time NBA champion, two-time Finals MVP, 10-time All-Star, won in regular season MVP in 2014, has four scoring titles, been a part of the 50-40-90 club in 2013. The guy's he's made about 10 All-NBA. No, he's made about 9 All-NBA teams, and he was the Rookie of the Year when he came into the NBA. If I look at James Harden is similar. James Harden has had a Hall of Fame career, man. He's been the most valuable player of the year. He's an 8-time All-Star, been on 7 All-NBA teams. He won the 6th Man of the Year award in 2012. He's been a 3-time scoring champion, and he led the league in assists in 2017. So these are great individual players, right? The problem with these guys is the fit, right? If you look at Kyrie Irving, for example, this season, Kyrie is averaging 27 points per game, 27.1 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 6.1 assists. He's a great number, shooting 50% from the field, 42% from the three-point line, 96% from the free throw line, and getting you 1.5 steals. Now, these are exceptional numbers, right? These are out of this world numbers with amazing efficiency. However, my biggest contention with this team has been defense, or the lack thereof. Too many of these players do similar things. This is one of the issues I have. These guys are one-sided players. If we have to talk about, of these three players, who's the best defensive player, I would give the nod to Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant is probably the best defensive player of the bunch. Then you probably have James Harden, and then you would have Kyrie. However, none of these players have ever made an all-NBA defensive team. They're not known for being great defenders. Some people like to feel special with calling out deflections and all of that stuff. Whatever. If it makes you feel good, if it makes you feel like you're having an argument, if it makes you feel like, okay, you're going to try to, because stats can tell any kind of story, right? Stats can tell any kind of story you want them to tell you. You just have to look for the right stats to make that argument. These guys are not great defensive players, right? They're just not. And it's one of the reasons why some people thought this team wouldn't work. Some people were just looking at the offense. And I said it just yesterday. Defense matters. People don't want to hear it. People are too busy sipping the Kool-Aid. Guys, let me tell you. This season, the Brooklyn Nets are giving up 116 points per game. 116 points per game. Don't come to me and talk to me about deflections or all of these different. They're not a good defensive team. I don't care about defensive efficiency and rating. Guy, can you hold teams to around 100 points? If you can't, you're not a good defensive team. Period. Plain and simple. Plain and simple, man. Like, you gotta judge the results ultimately. They're not a good defensive team. So what happened last night? I was watching that game between the Brooklyn Nets and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Okay, let me just put this in perspective for you guys, okay? The Cleveland Cavaliers currently have a record of 7-7. They have no stars to point to, right? Just a bunch of young guys on that team that are playing. Now, they have a really good young player in Colin Sexton. I hope I pronounce his name right. Who's a young stud, right? But I think he'd been injured some games prior. I was watching that game. First of all, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they were keeping it close with the Nets, which any team can do in the NBA. Then they started pulling away. And I was asking myself, I said, hold on a minute. Hold on. You have 3 all-stars on your team. And you're telling me that this team cannot put together some defensive stops to get this game close? They were catching up to that team. Had nothing to do with the defense they were playing. What happened was the Cleveland Cavaliers, at a certain point, once the Brooklyn Nets started hitting some shots, the Cleveland Cavaliers stopped hitting shots. I'm talking about open shots. They were missing wide open shots, and that's how the Brooklyn Nets started catching up. They were catching up to them with their offense. Had nothing to do with their defense. They somehow managed to tie that game, and they went into overtime. Then they couldn't close the deal, and they went into second overtime. And the final score, the Brooklyn Nets gave up 150 points. Okay, fine. 147 points. You can't do that. You can't talk about you're going to be a championship team and you're giving up 150 points in a game? 150? That's too many points. That is way too many points. And y'all are trying to tell me that if this team cannot defend teams, lower tier teams in the Eastern Conference, y'all believe that they're going to beat the Lakers or the Clippers? The Lakers and the Clippers, who can score with any team. Guys, listen. Currently, if we look at the NBA stats, let me just pull it up here. I have it here, the team stats. The Brooklyn Nets are leading the league in field goal percentage at 49%. Guess who the next 2 teams behind them? The Lakers and the Clippers. And they're leading them by not even 1%. The Lakers and the Clippers. The Clippers are better they're the best 3-point shooting team in the NBA. So this thing of the Brooklyn Nets are going to be blowing teams out, yeah, but the teams they're going to be playing against, if they were to meet them in the finals, can score just as much as they can, and in some cases score even more. But the other team can play defense. People are trying to omit defense as if it doesn't matter. If that's what you want to do, good luck. Because you can't beat teams on a consistent basis in a 7-game series doing this. Teams are going to figure out what you're doing. At a certain point, you have to be able to string together defensive stops. You can't get 150 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and y'all thinking this team can see the Lakers? No, they can't. This is the reason why, unless the Nets start playing great defense, right? Because you're going to have to win on the defensive, because they can score. but so can everybody else, right? So it's not about scoring because other teams can score too. It's not like as if you're playing against the Lakers, who are like the old Pistons or something like this. Detroit Pistons. No, the Lakers can score with the best of them, but they can defend. The Clippers can score, but they can defend. The Nets can score, and that's about it. And defense is going to be this team's biggest problem that they need to address. And it's not even funny. 150 is not a good look against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They beat the Milwaukee Bucks by 2 points, and that was 120 something, right? One or two bounces to go the other way, the Bucks would have won that game. It wasn't like as if it was a decisive win. They need to play better defense. So what I want to know from you guys is, do you think that defense is the major problem for the Nets, or do you think it's no big deal? They're going to score 10,000 points a game and beat teams just by being able to score? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified whenever we drop our content. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro. Wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.